Good evening to all the brothers and sisters who are online today and watching this special event that is being organized online. The secrets of Bhagavad Gita for the challenging times. And definitely, we all know that in the present era, everybody is going through great challenging times. Some people are in fear also. What will happen after this? What will be the consequences of this? And some people are enjoying also, feeling as if whatever is going to happen will happen for the best. As it is mentioned in Gita, whatever happens, happens for good. Everything that comes in our way definitely brings us some or the other lessons to learn so that we can move forward with those experiences, with those things with us. And we can keep them in our memories and share with our family and friends also in the coming years so that we are able to guide them in a better way. So, Bhagavad Gita, in terms of pure spiritual knowledge, the Bhagavad Gita is incomparable. Why? Because its intrinsic beauty is that its knowledge applies to all human beings and does not postulate any sectarian ideology or secular view. It is approachable from the sanctified realms of all religions and is glorified as the epitome of all spiritual teachings by the Supreme. Because in Bhagavad Gita, this is the only holy book in the whole world, which is the highest on high. Why? Because this is the only book where it is written, God speaks in the first person. Rest all the other holy books of any religions, they are uttered, the versions are uttered by some great souls, some holy saints, or maybe some divine messengers or some divine beings. But no holy book ever has this words, God speaks in the first person. And in the whole of the holy book, nowhere is it written that this is just for Hindus, or even in the whole of Bhagavad Gita, the word Hindu also does not occur, which means this is a holy book or the directions of the Supreme Being for the entire humanity. And so in the whole world, there are many people who have tried to understand Gita, who have tried to know Gita in a better way. Especially, I would say that nowadays the management gurus are also using the wisdom of Bhagavad Gita for training purposes. They have also derived some valuable lessons from the Bhagavad Gita, which is applicable everywhere. And so I would say that just as in any human holy book which people have, there is not such versions which are applicable everywhere. But Bhagavad Gita gives the salvation for the state of mind of all the souls in form of Arjuna. There is salvation for the state of affairs in the family because in Bhagavad Gita, Pandav and Kauravas are shown to be members of one family. So there is salvation for the state of affairs in the family. There is salvation for the state of affairs in the society at the large. And there is salvation for the state of affairs at the level of a nation also. Because the whole fight was for the throne. So for a state of affairs at the level of the nation, and the salvation for the state of affairs in the entire world. So in management, we would say from the micro to the macro level, every level are able to take guidance from the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. So it is great. When we say there is salvation for the state of affairs of an individual in form of Arjuna, because it is very accurately depicted in the present context, I would say. Just as Arjuna, who was a great warrior, who had fought many wars single-handed, but when it came for Mahabharata, it is seen that he became so nervous. He was stressed, tensed. He was losing his inner confidence, especially when the story that is depicted in Mahabharata, that when he asked God, can you take my chariot in the middle so that I can see both the armies very clearly? And when God takes the chariot in the middle and he sees both the armies, and he starts becoming nervous and depressed. And that is when he laid down his weapons and said to God, oh God, I don't want to fight anymore. What would we say? Can we say that the confidence of Arjuna was broken? Did he lose his self-confidence? When God was by his side, can we say that he had lost the faith in God? When God had guaranteed that you are going to be the victorious one, you will win the battle, then why was the condition of his mind such? Normally, people tell us, whoever explains to us in different satsangs, that at that moment when he saw the army and when he saw his great-grandfather Bhishma Pitama standing there, for whom he had high respects, when he saw his Guru Dronacharya, when he saw his family members, then his attachment arose. And that is why he felt, how can I kill all of them? They are my near and dear ones. They are my respected ones. So that attachment grew up, and so he asked God that he doesn't want to fight anymore. Just imagine, this was not the first time that he was facing Bhishma Pitama or Guru Dronacharya. This is the second time. And the first time he is single-handed, without God being by his side, he defeated everyone and he fought. When did he fight the first time? When they were in the hidden state, after 12 years of exile, and in the 13th year, when they were asked to stay in a hidden form, and they should not be recognized because according to the condition that was laid, that they have to stay 12 years in exile, and the 13th year would be in a hidden state where nobody should ever recognize them. Because if they get recognized, then again 12 years of exile they have to complete. So in the 13th year, when they were hiding in the kingdom of Virat, King Virat, and at that time, it is said that Duryodhana wanted them to keep away so that they always stay, throughout their life, they stay in exile. So as soon as the 13th year started, he sent his men far and wide to find out so that they get recognized and to find out where they are. And one of his men came up and told them that they are hiding in, maybe they are hiding because he realized that there is some way that King Virat's kingdom, that is the place where they are hiding. So Duryodhana, without thinking, he just took the army and asked Bhishma Pitama to lead the army and to attack King Virat's kingdom without any reason. So they did not understand why Duryodhana is doing this, but they also followed. And at that time, the prince of Virat, who was with Arjuna at that time, and when Arjuna saw the army just coming up to attack, he realized. So he took his weapons out and single-handed he fought with them. And that time he fought with Bhishma Pitama, he fought with Dronacharya, Guru Dronacharya, and all his near and dear ones. And he was not depressed at that time. So why would he get depressed at this time? And just imagine, if we would have been in that place, and since childhood, if our near and dear ones or our elders in the family, if they constantly do injustice to us, would we ever have that attachment in us for them? No way. We have to be practical. So from childhood, if Pandavas were constantly facing injustice from the Kauravas and from all those so-called elders, so there was no attachment that came up. But the story is something different. The story is when he got his chariot in the middle of both the armies. On one side it was the Kaurava army, and the other hand it was the Pandav army. And after seeing all the Maharathis of the Kaurava army, when he turned to see who was in his army, and there he could see his 5 sons standing in line. And he remembered that when he had asked, when Draupadi had asked God, what will be the result of this whole fight, of this war? So God said, well, the 5 Pandavas will be safe. Nothing would happen to them. That is my guarantee. So that is when Draupadi asked, what about my 5 sons? What about my children? And that's when God said, well, I can't take the guarantee of your sons. And this thing, Arjuna knew, that God had taken the guarantee of us 5 Pandavas, but he has not taken the guarantee for my sons. So when he saw his sons, he was deeply attached to his sons. And when he was deeply attached to his sons, he knew that if Kauravas were not able to attack us because God is by our side, But to cause us that pain, they will attack on my sons, kill them so that they can take the revenge, and they will like torture us, give us that pain in our lives in such a way that maybe it would be very difficult for us to handle ourselves. So that is why that attachment towards his sons, which is very normal for any father in today's age also. A person may be very principled person, but if somebody kidnaps his sons, he forgets everything. He can compromise for anything to get back his children. The same thing. So Mahabharata was not some 5,000 years ago that had happened. But I would say during those days, just as it reminds me that when Nostradamus in France, 500 years ago, when he saw the future of the world in a globe, and he wrote down everything. Similarly, the rishis and munis of India were such, through the penance that they did, through the tapasya they did, they were able to visualize 5,000 years ago, the present time, how the world would be like, what will be the state of mind of the people. And so, just as Nostradamus wrote everything, similarly, our rishis and munis also wrote in form of a story, depicting each and everything, trying to bring this in awareness of the human beings. And not just they wrote the conditions of this world, but they also wrote the salvations during that time. And so it is the same time which has come on the whole world, where each and every human being is struggling, is battling in his life. Just as in Mahabharata it is shown, each and every person was battling. Whether it was a Maharathi or whether it was a soldier, everybody was battling. So similarly, the present condition of today's world, where each and every soul is battling, struggling in his life. And there are times when we are easily able to overcome whatever comes in front of us. Each and every challenge that is there, we are able to overcome. So in everyone's life, there comes a time of ultimate challenge, when life seems unfair and every resource is over. Faith, values, patience, compassion, persistence are just pushed to their limits. Some people overcome the challenges of life and lead their lives in a worthwhile way, while others want to destroy themselves in the conflicts of life. Some people just lose hope. They become nervous. They become depressed, stressed. And that is the time, sometimes, through their prayers, they communicate with the Supreme, saying, "Oh God, I've had enough. Now I don't want to struggle anymore. Please take me out of this situation," which is completely like as if a person is in a fix and he doesn't know where to go. So his faith also, he loses his faith in the self, his values. He doesn't know how to compromise with his values. In today's age, we find people have lost their patience, they've lost their compassion. So all these are pushed to our limits. So this is the challenging times that each and every individual is going through, battling in their life. So that is when God is there by our side, but hardly we are able to realize that He's by our side. And now I have to make a choice whether during this challenging times, which way should I go? Should I go towards the Pandav side, or should I go towards the Kaurav side? Bhishma Pitama was a brahmachari. Guru Dronacharya was also a brahmachari. But they were on the side of Kauravas. There are certain people in today's world also who are great souls, great people, but they are following the path of unrighteousness, where Pandav means righteousness, who had a loveful intellect with God, and Kauravas means the ones who were unrighteous, leading the path of adharma, unrighteousness, and whose intellect was completely divorced from God. So it is my choice. Which way do I want to go? Because accordingly, I will adopt those techniques to overcome these challenging times. If I become Pandava, means if I stay on the path of righteousness, on dharma, then my battle may be easy because of the loveful intellect which I am having with God. And that is when it is said, Vinash kale preet buddhi vijayanti, and Vinash kale vipreet buddhi vinashyanti. So the ones who have preet, ones who have loveful intellect with God, win the battle on the basis of the power of righteousness. But the ones who have all the materialistic pleasures and everything, but because they are divorced intellect from God, and because they are following the path of unrighteousness, for them, they lose the battle of life. Maybe it seems as if they are winning, but ultimately they lose everything. So that is why at this moment, especially at the time of destruction, when we see that the world war is just ahead of us, that is the time when, let me check, am I faithful intellect, loveful intellect with God, following the path of righteousness, the path of dharma, or am I divorced intellect, following the path of unrighteousness? So this is why it is said Arjuna was in a great dilemma. And he did not understand. So he was talking cowardly in front of God. And this is sometimes what we do in our prayers also. We say to God, I'm sorry, I can't fight anymore. I'm sorry, I can't handle myself anymore. Now I have tried all the ways on the basis of righteousness. Now I think this world wants unrighteous people only. And they are enjoying in life those who are following the path of unrighteousness. Just like when we had the session on karma, settling of karma, this question was there. That there are some people who are enjoying, who are following the path of unrighteousness. And they are enjoying in life. So this is the illusion. But they don't realize they may be enjoying. It seems that they are enjoying. But actually in today's world, although having all the materialistic pleasures does not mean that people are enjoying in life, because everybody is leading a life of stress, anxiety, fear, depression, all this are coming in their lives, and no materialistic comforts are helping them. After all those comforts also, they are spending sleepless nights in their beds. They can't sleep. So that is why, if we follow the path of righteousness, it may seem that they are not enjoying, they are suffering, but ultimately they become the victorious ones. Similarly, as I said, this is a story of a family where Pandavas and Kauravas were one family. They were brothers, paternal uncles, one family. And the Kauravas, they always cheated, bullied the Pandavas because they were following the path of values. And the elders, especially Dhritarashtra, who is shown to be blind. Well, it is not that he did not have the physical eyes, but in today's world also, in a family, sometimes the elders are blind. Blind in attachment, blind because of ego, blind because of so much of aspirations they have in life. So they are blind. So in families, parents whose third eye of wisdom is closed due to attachment in their children, they are not willing to spare even an inch of land, which is compared to a pinpoint of a needle in place of 5 villages. It is said that Pandavas asked, 5 villages, can we just have 5 villages out of the whole kingdom that you have? And that is when Duryodhana said, not even a pinpoint of a needle. 5 villages is too much. Not even a pinpoint of a needle I'm going to give you. And this is what is happening in India. We find that in families, people are fighting for land, for their share in the property. This is what they are fighting for. And those who are following the path of unrighteousness, due to the power that they show, they feel as if they can bully the other ones, those who are following the righteous path. And you go to the courts, you find all the cases connected with property and land and all the shares, family shares, which they are entitled to receive. They have the right. But because of the family that is divided, and the elders, they can't speak a word. They can't advise their children that you can't do injustice to these people. You have to give them their share. Yeah. And especially if one brother is staying outside, overseas, and when he comes back and he's in need of, he's desperately in need of money, and he goes to his brothers and say, can we just divide our share, and if I can sell off my share of land because I'm in need of money. And what will the brothers say? Are you mad? Talking of selling this land? You can't sell off this land. It is too much. And we have put all our efforts in it to produce so much. And what are you talking about? And if the person says, well, I sent the money from overseas, then you bought this land. So now I want my share and I can just sell it off. I'm in need of money. And what will they say? They will say, you can do whatever you want to. But we are not going to sell off this land. No way. Because they know even if they file a case in the court, they are not going to come every time when the date is from overseas. And finally, those people just have to leave everything. And with such disheartened heart, they just have to go back without getting their share. This is happening so much in today's world. And we see the greed in the people, especially. They won't give any money also. They won't try to help also because of the greed. And the elders are sitting there because of the attachment in their children. They are not able to speak a word. In other words, they are not able to accept them or give them happiness. They are so egoistic that they will never give up feelings of distaste, anger, revenge, even if the entire community shall be destroyed. They have to go for war. So this is what is happening in the family matters, the affairs of the families, and for that also salvation is there. For the state of an individual also, the salvation is given in Bhagavad Gita. The state of a family, salvation is given for that as well. Similarly, in our society, do we see characters like Shakuni? Definitely. In Mahabharata, there was only one Shakuni. But in today's world, how many Shakunis are there in the society? So many. And where the people in the society are also blind towards sinful and righteous actions, those who are not able to differentiate between what is dharma and what is adharma, what is being dutiful and undutiful, good and bad, and are devoid or deprived of the eyes to discriminate between justice and injustice. And who is Shakuni in today's world? Do you like to know? Because Shakuni had targeted the youth. He did not target Dhritarashtra or Gandhari, his sister or his brother-in-law. No. He targeted the youth, Duryodhana, Dushashana. So in today's world also, the greatest challenge is the youth are being targeted by whom? And who is that Shakuni? Who is playing games with their minds? Who is polluting the minds of the youth? Who is that Shakuni? Can you see that Shakuni? Or is it invisible? That Shakuni is mobiles. Mobile is today's Shakuni. Just as children in the family, they want a mobile, Android mobile, and the parents also give them that Android mobile, thinking their studies and everything, they need to learn, get educated, they need to have information. So anytime they are in difficulty, they can Google, they can easily get access to that information. But initially they use those youth, they use their mobiles to access the information. But afterwards, when they get addicted and the mobile starts controlling their minds, and on YouTubes or whatever we listen in today's world, the cyber crimes, their mind, they're so intelligent people, so intelligent youth involved in cyber crimes. And there is so much of addiction, just like Duryodhana was so much addicted to his uncle Shakuni. He would not move any step without his direction. He didn't care for anyone. He didn't listen to his grandparents, Bhishma Pitama or his Gurujis or anyone. So similarly, this is the same type of scenario that we see in Mahabharata. And it is the same Mahabharata that the youth of today's world is being controlled by Shakuni, whose minds and intellect and every act is controlled by Shakuni. And that also in a very sly way. And not only that, who is expert in playing games, especially the dice, and cheating those who are on the path of righteousness. So this is Shakuni of today's world. And the parents are hardly aware of what their children are doing in practical life. They think my child is educating and is an intellectual person and he knows his way. But finally, when he lands up in some kind of cyber crimes and he is behind the bars, that's when the parents, they come to know what their children were doing with the technology that they were access to. Similarly, it's a story of a nation also, Dhritarashtra, who was blind just to sit on that throne. And nobody should ever tell him to get off that throne, was so much attached to that throne, was blind. So similarly, if we look at all the nations of the world and all those politicians, they also want to sit on that chair, on that throne, and they can do anything. They can play any political games for that, just to get that throne, like the thrush. So when the nation has been captured by the feelings of deceit, where rights are governed ruthlessly, thus the picture of the entire nation is very dreadful, where the vision towards truth is blind and there is destruction of mental power and soul power. So all the countries throughout the world, whether it may be Korea, North Korea, whether it can be China, whether it can be US, any country we take, whether we can see India, all the countries and the state of the nation and the reigns of the nation, we feel sometimes they are just stumbling. And especially those who are blind in attachment, if they want to get onto the power, then that nation state will be really difficult for the entire world also. So in Bhagavad Gita, the salvation for a state of a nation is also given, how the nation should be ruled, how the ruler of that nation should be, what are the principles of his life. Everything is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. But never anybody saw Bhagavad Gita from that perspective. And that is why we find the challenges are increasing day by day, whether it is at the personal level, whether it is in the families, whether it is in the society, whether it is in a nation or their world. And today the whole world is facing a grave problem. And therefore, God himself has to incarnate on earth to give a new turn to the history. He has come to remind us of those lessons our minds from the wisest attachments to human beings and become the embodiment of yoga. How we find that Pandavas, Kauravas, and God himself is also present in today's world. Why? Because today the world is absolutely at the edge of the times of another great transformation. And it is again the same state as shown in Kurukshetra. At such times of conflicts and confusion, when human beings' intellects have become completely bankrupt and downtrodden due to the false action, the entire humanity is in need of the knowledge of Gita. This is such a war field for which God himself is beckoning on us. One needs to become an instrument to spread this spiritual awareness and become a warrior in order to fulfill the divine will. So at this time, when we are just going through that transformational period, and we can see in the entire world and the present condition, it seems as if the whole world is undergoing a great transformation. And during such time, God has to descend, because at the time of irreligiousness, he has to descend. So when this whole world is going through a great transformation, and especially when we see that the world, there is so much of negativity prevailing in the society, in the world at large, that is the time when he also has to come. When the number of Kauravas have increased great in number. So this is such a war field in which each and every human being is battling, struggling in life. And now it seems as if we can't see the right path. So God has to descend at this time of irreligiousness. And now God himself is beckoning on us. He needs us to become an instrument to spread the spiritual awareness and become a warrior in order to fulfill the divine will. So we find that in today's world, Arjuna is symbolic for the consciousness of those people who are trapped within their own desires and relationships. When there is a constant war going between one's virtues and vices, the good and bad in one's mind, and then the mind gets exhausted and is not ready to fight with the devilish powers any further. And the intellect is not able to judge except to give up to the devil powers, especially when one is going through a lot of stress. There are failures after failures that we meet. There is so much of family conflict going on. Our person is going through a long sickness. Like we see in this world where people are just becoming victims of corona. That is the time when, as if a person completely loses faith in his own self, in the ability that he has, in the potential of his own inner capacities. That is when he wants to surrender in front of all those viciousness. So that is why we find that that person is not able to just see what he has to do and where he has to go, in which direction he has to go. Completely, he is not aware of it. And at that time, it is said the Gita is born in a situation of conflict. In the very midst of the Kurukshetra war, both the armies are drawn upon one another. The flight of missiles is about to begin. The conch shells have been sounded. The clamor of the war is heard, and the hearts of the participants are torn by the conflict. It is then that the Gita teachings come. So Gita, that's why it is said Gita is the scripture of conflict. And there were 18 Akshonis. It is said And how much is 18 akshonis? I just went onto the internet to find out how much is 18 akshonis. And during that time, I realized that during the Mahabharata times, the calculation for the battalion in the army was counted in form of patti. And in one patti, it was one chariot, one elephant, 5 soldiers, and 3 horse riders. So in one akshoni, there were, as the calculation, there were 2,187 chariots, 2,187 elephants, 10,935 soldiers, and 6,561 horse riders in one akshoni. So how much is it in 18 akshonis? So when we calculated that, 18 akshonis, it shows 3,93,660 chariots, 3,93,660 elephants, 19,68,300 soldiers, and 11,80,980 horse riders. This was 18 akshonis. And in 18 akshonis, 11 akshonis was on the Kaurav side, 7 akshonis were on the Pandav side. So this is the condition of the entire world. So it was not just connected to India, but when it is said Mahabharata, Mahabharata extended from far east to far west, from say Afghanistan to far east. All this area was considered as Mahabharata during that time. All was like one piece of land. Then it was separated of the volcanoes and the earthquakes and everything that came up in the Middle Age. Everything got separated. But if we take the map and if we try to fix all this in form of jigsaw puzzle, we find it comes up to a big Mahabharata. So this is why it is not the story of some 5,000 years ago, but 5,000 years ago, the rishis, they had visualized the present time and how each and every individual is going through war. This is what is seen. So it is not a story of any Kurukshetra. So Kurukshetra within each one of us, that is in our psyche, where there are devilish, asuri, and Devi, divine powers, drawn upon in array against each other. And it is within the mind that this battle has to be constantly fought. And sometimes we get influenced by the devilish qualities also. And sometimes we are under the influence of the Pandavas. Devilish qualities, it is like going into the team of Kauravas. So the Kauravas are the ones who are irreligious. Dhritarashtra means the one who is blind in ego, blind in power of the kingdom, land and physical power. Purposely. And there are certain souls in today's world also who keep themselves blindfolded. Although they know everything, they know what is right and what is wrong, but they do not speak, they do not guide anyone onto the path of righteousness. And I went onto the internet to search the names of the Kauravas, Duryodhana, Dushashana, and to my surprise, it was most of the names started from Du. And Du depicts the emotions of sorrow and wickedness, the ones who give sorrow to one another. So all the names of the Kauravas are shown to be giving sorrow to others, those who had wicked, cunning nature in themselves. So that is what is shown. And Pandavas are the ones who had divine nature, and they were functioning on the basis of the divine nature or within the sphere of religion, the ones with spiritual emotions. And in today's world also we find, yes, if we take the percentage is always on 100. So 100 Kauravas and 5 Pandavas. So if we take the whole world as 100%, in today's world, there are only 5% of people who are on the path of righteousness. All the rest are on the path of unrighteousness. So Kauravas are more in number and Pandavas are just a handful. So 5 means a handful. The ones with spiritual emotions. Yudhishthir means the one who had a stable intellect, even amidst the war. And the one who was full, Bhim means the one who was full with soul power, strong. The one who was equipped with strong willpower, either this side or whatever. He had no middle path. Like Yudhishthir always, with his stable mind, was trying to find a middle path. But Bhim was a very strong, will-powered person. He had no middle path. He said either this side or this side. And Arjuna, the one who's always ready to learn and grasp whatever God said, yes. Nakula means the one who lives by principles. And Sahadeva is one who is cooperative and has a divine insight and a divine intellect, who always extends his cooperation. So these are the handful Pandavas who had a loveful intellect with God, and by whose side God was also standing, because they were following the path of righteousness. They never gave up for anything. They were battling constantly, but with the directions that were given by God. Similarly, life has become a battle where each and every one is battling, but at the same time, if we follow the directions of that supreme energy, we can stay safe, we can be victorious in every challenging times without having that stress created. Yeah, at times maybe there will be some pressure, there may be some nervousness that may come up, but being by God's side, we develop that confidence and again ultimately win the battle of life. So this is the choice we have to make. It is the same Mahabharata time that is going on in the world. The Pandavas are also there, the Kauravas are also there, and we have to make a choice in our lives whether we want to follow the path of righteousness or whether we want to follow the path of unrighteousness. Keep Shakuni by our side and always follow his directions. And Shakuni may take our life anywhere. So this is the present scenario of Mahabharata. And not just the challenges that we are going on in our life, but many more challenges that are to come. And what is God's direction? How to win the battle of life from the second chapter. So this was just an outline that I gave, that how it is connected with the present scenario. And then what are the directions at the individual level, at the family level, at the national level, or at the world level. So especially at the individual level, because everyone wants to lead their life amongst these times of challenges, in a smooth way, they just want to find out their way. So God has given the directions to Arjuna. So which are those directions? Maybe we can see in our next session as our time is coming closer and closer. So, but anyway, it was wonderful to be with you all. And at the same time, we have our sisters who are having this good wishes and who have good feelings for all of you, that during such times, at least, they can also give you a spiritual insight into what the Gita teachings tell us and how they can guide us. So I thank the sisters, especially Sister Panna, Sister Catherine, Brother Satish, and all those who are involved in creating this online special Gita teachings for all of you. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, definitely you can put them forward to Sister Panna and Sister Catherine, and they can let me know about it, and I can answer them maybe in my next session whenever time permits. Thank you so much. Om Shanti. So, for a few moments, if you permit, can I just take you into a meditation session? So, for a few minutes, just sit relaxed. And consider the self that I am a panda. Who has made this choice in life to follow the path of righteousness. And God as my companion to guide me amidst this battlefield. I am Arjuna, always ready to grasp the teachings of God for practical life. I'm such a fortunate soul to develop this loveful intellect with God, just as I am a point of light. The Supreme Being is also a point of divine light and might. The Almighty, constantly showering His powers and qualities on me. I feel so fortunate to listen to these versions of God, during this great transformational period, and finding that insight, that spiritual insight, or the divine wisdom which I really need in the present times to overcome the challenges, to address all the challenges that are coming on my way, and be victorious by taking God by my side. I don't ask God to help me, but I make him my companion like Arjuna did and follow his directions. I know he will never let me down. Through his wisdom, I can overcome the most difficult struggles of life also. God is beckoning on me, so let me become his true helper to bring this transformation in the world. What a beautiful fortune I have. Om Shanti.